Good morning, Tarot Sphere. It is Holly from Cape Cod Creatures, and I am here this morning with a little hashtag SBD action surrounded by decks. And I wasn't planning on doing that this morning. I was planning on doing an entirely different kind of video, but I've done some reviews lately and some live chats, and it's been a really long time since I've done a tarot tag, so I figured I'd mix things up a little bit. And because I wasn't planning on doing SBD, I'll probably do this in two parts. One, because I have a very extensive deck collection, and two, because none of my favorite of my chosen card is actually here. They're all at home, and I'm at work, and ain't got time to go drive home and grab those cards. So, well, I have a couple of my favorites, but none of my like favorites, if you know what I mean. So today we will be talking about number 18 of the major arcana, the moon. A lot of people hate this card. Either you really connect with it in a positive way, or you don't connect with it at all, and it's anytime you encounter it, it's a negative experience. For me, I'm a night owl. I like a little bit of mystery in my life, so I always connect really well with the moon. This particular image of the moon comes to you from the Hokusai Tarot by Il Meneghello. This is a majors only deck. He took the paintings of Hokusai and not copied, but emulated his art style in a tribute to in a tribute to his woodcut style and what have you, and his was it 300 and some odd views of Mount Fuji, and turned them into these amazing majors only cards. So anyway, this is the first picture of the moon. And here you just see, it's very simple. You see a mountain with kind of that like upward sloping, but almost like perspective grabbing snow cap. And then you have a, that is a waning crescent, if memory serves. Yes, it's a waning crescent. So, yeah, so that means, like, you know, you're on your way to a new moon, which means that you're almost, like, you're especially losing lumination here. So, I don't know, it's just, it's a really, the moon just really speaks to me. Like, this kind of card would tell me something about, like, you have an energy winding down from something, but there's something else that you really can't see, like you're almost on the right track, but not quite, kind of a thing. And you're about to enter a period of unknown, but also of renewal. And then we have, of course, I'm not exactly sure how these videos are supposed to go. Let me hang on one second. Oh, good, I'm on the right track, so I'm not wrong. We're just talking about the moon card. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk about the moon today. So like I said, this one, the Hokusai Tarot, like this one is kind of like, it's a wane, this one is more of a like winding down of energies for me, but like still some secrets, still some stuff you gotta intuition out kind of a thing still, but like it's not really nightmarish to me for whatever reason. This is just a very calming, peaceful night scene, and kind of like a deep breath in, deep breath out kind of a thing, but like prepare because you're not quite there yet. There's something you're missing that you're not quite seeing. So next we have the moon card from the Silhouettes Tarot. Let me go ahead and try and focus that in for you. And Silhouettes Tarot is gorgeous. So the one thing that I love about Silhouettes Tarot is there's tons of detail in there that you don't always pick up every single time you look at the card. So here you've got like the classic, the trees are forming the two towers, and you've got the two dogs right here, the wolf and this one's the wolf, this one's the domesticated dog. But instead of a lobster crawling out of a pond, you have a beetle crawling up a twig. So I don't know, this one is definitely a little more shadowy and a little more swirly and a little more dreamy. This speaks more to like the dreaming, the dreaming aspects of the moon, like the listening and kind of trying to intuit some meaning from like after you go to sleep, trying to remember your dreams, maybe a little bit of lucid dreaming. It also is way more hopeful for me than the usual moon card. Usually you see the two towers, the two dogs, and a lobster crawling out of the water, which doesn't always sit well with me because lobsters cannot survive. Well, they can survive out of the water, but ultimately they're aquatic creatures, and why would they be crawling out of the water? Like they've got no reason to do that. That would indicate to me something like kind of weird and amiss is going on. But a beetle crawling up on a leaf, like he's ascending, like he's headed up to the top of that stalk. He's gonna maybe eat a leaf on the way. Like he's going places, like he's going upward. So this would indicate to me probably like having to intuit something from your dreams in order to gain some upward movement and get unstuck from this shadowy place that you're kind of caught in. And again, there's also like there's one of the dogs is wearing a bow, like the dog is wearing a bow tie, and the wolf is like he's just like wild and scruffy. And while I think the two are supposed to be clashing, this looks more to me like they're helping to steady the stalk. So this would talk to me about listening to both sides of your intuition, both your like very domesticated, safe, sensible side, but also your wild and crazy, gonna take a chance, more intuitive kind of a side, like your instinctual side. So this is like use both parts to steady that stalk so that beetle can climb to the top and get over this weird hump that he's in, and possibly the answer can be found for you in dreams. The next one we'll talk about, and this one doesn't really speak to me all the time. I actually oftentimes when it comes to Star Child Akashic, I love the colors, I love the artwork. I have a really hard time kind of figuring out what these cards are saying to me sometimes. Let me go ahead and see if I can focus in. Yep, so you've got this beautiful woman standing with her arms up and down in like her arms are up in shadow but down in pose. You've got the phases of the moon, and you've got this pyramid thing behind her with some Egyptian wings, and she's on kind of a road, but in the middle of a desert. This card really speaks more to me of phases, like cycles and phases and growth, and like the waxing and waning, because it does have the full moon phases, and arms up, arms down, like it's kind of figuring out where you are in a cycle of growth. But it really doesn't have too much traditional moon meanings for me as far as like the traditional moon card is concerned. And oftentimes I find myself going back to this deck's guidebook because it is so different from a traditional tarot deck. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but I definitely need to work with it more. But this one does, like I said, it speaks more to me of the waxing and waning and of cycles and of growth. So where are we next? Okay, so we've got Idiosyncradeck, the Moon. I love this deck. It's absolutely 100% peopleless. It's all nature. Occasionally you'll find like stuff people might leave behind, like decorations and yarn and stuff, but for the most part there are no buildings, there are no like human built structures, and it's just all natural. And this, oh look, there's a little, I don't know if you can see it, but down there, see that little white dot where my finger is because I can't quite get it to focus? That's actually a little skull. So this would say to me, you can't always rely on what you think you know. Clearly this is a person that was wandering and got lost and expired in this desert because he didn't have all the knowledge to get him out of there and home. Like he kind of got stuck and trapped there. So this would say to me, try not to get trapped in what you think you know, and know that there's other things that you need to kind of get you to places you need to be. But otherwise, you get some very traditional moon meanings from this one, like, well, not so much the secrets, I would say, but like you can't fully illuminate a path with just the light of the moon. You've got like relying on, like relying on intuition and whatnot. I mean, this is in nightmares. Like, I don't know about you, but getting stuck in a desert and dying and having your bleached skull just hang out, it's kind of a nightmare. but and you get a bleak landscape there. So this is more of like the scary, unsettling kind of a traditional moon meaning. Let's see. So, okay, one of my favorites actually is this little guy. This is, of course, you guys have seen this like a bunch of times in my readings and on my Instagram. This is the Bird Tarot by Nora San. Still working on becoming a wholesaler for this. We're getting closer. I have to drum up the funds. I have to buy the deck in a very large quantity, so I'm just, as soon as I'm a little more fluid, we'll be bringing this in to wholesale. Well, I'll be a wholesale buyer, and then we'll be bringing it in for retail. So it'll be available in the States soon. Very traditional as far as this card is concerned. They basically just take out like some of the people stuff and they replace it with birds. But I find it very interesting because instead of a lobster, you have a penguin, which a little more cuddly, a little more character. A penguin would have way more reason to leave the water than a lobster. And here you have a bird at rest and a bird ready to take flight. And of course you've got the two pillars, the little mountain there, and there's no, like, you can't really suss it out, but it's definitely like a path leading between the two towers. So this card kind of like the more traditional moon cards really remind me of that scene from what was it, The Neverending Story, where he gets to the gate. I think it might even be called the Moon Gate, but it's got the two sphinxes and he's got to answer the riddle, or he's going to be blasted apart or whatever. But it reminds me very much of that. Like, this is the beginning of a very scary and uncertain journey for this baby penguin. Like, if he's going to get there, he's got to get past these birds of prey. He's got to wander this whole landscape, and then he's got to make it past these two big towers. And even then, this is all at night. His path isn't fully illuminated, and he's heading on into unfamiliar territory. So this card is more to me like the beginning of a very scary and unsure journey with unsure, like this is just very up in the air for me. Like, you can start a thing, but we can't, like, I can't even begin to tell you how it's going to end or go for you because we don't have all the information and all the puzzle pieces. So it might be scary and you're going to have to calculate whether or not it's worth the risk, kind of a thing. All right. And then we have, let's see. Okay, so we've got the Dame Darcy Mermaid's Moon, which is, this one is actually one of my favorites. It's modeled, so this deck has a little bit of controversy floating around it because this is the second edition. And for those of you that know the controversy, great. I'll probably touch on it in a video at some point, but I really love her artwork style, and I really liked this. This spoke to me more than the card that it's modeled after. This artwork style particularly. I love this like decrepit lobster creature like dragging itself. Like, this is, if you asked to be turned into a mermaid, this is not what you had in mind. Like, this is like super scary, shit's gone wrong. Like you have no idea what's going to happen. Some unexpected ridiculousness was thrown your way. This moon card to me is like more the stuff of nightmares. It's just a very surreal landscape. It's like a super draggy downy kind of like, this wasn't what I wanted. Like, this is oh, okay, so it's like making a wish on the monkey's paw. Like, you got to be really careful about what you wanted and what you asked for, because, like, you know, again, like this person wished to be a mermaid, wasn't real specific, and now she's like trying to drag herself up out of the water and undo that wish. So yeah, it's really scary and creepy. And then you've got the two dogs' heads, which are severed. So it's like, again, this one is more of the nightmare aspect of the moon to me, like something's scary going down and you don't really, like, you're very unsure and very creeped out, and like this one kind of gives me the willies a little bit, and I really love it because I love that kind of stuff. And then we've got the moon from Pagan Otherworlds. Beautiful card. You've got the two dogs at the bottom one wolf and one, it looks like a hunting spaniel, and then you've got a very peaceful looking moon. This is a very restful card. You've got a shared watering hole where you've got the two dogs kind of like coming together, gonna grab a drink. They're both howling. They're both getting in touch with their instincts, with their inner wild. Like, it's easier for one dog than another to kind of get in touch with like their wild side. But ultimately they're both kind of finding a peaceful brotherhood with each other. Even though like they don't seem like they'd have anything in common, like domesticated hunting dog versus a wild wolf. But there's some unknown and some like the common thread might be not really like tangible at first, but they know that they have something in common even if they can't express it. And then but it's like, it's also kind of a sad card because eventually the wolf and the dog are going to go their own way. And I think that's kind of like, the moon's got like the kind of this sad but peaceful look on her face. She's just kind of like, you two are gonna have like, you have this amazing connection, but at some point like the good stuff's going to have to end. So this to me is more of a card of like, this is just like sad but peaceful and restful and like happy at the same time. I don't know, it's just, it's kind of a really weird card for me. I also enjoy how instead of two pillars, this is a natural rock formation doorway. So at some point one of these canines is going to choose to go through this door and start again, that they're going to start like this journey, this hard path journey. So I don't know, that's kind of where I'm going with that. But it's just, it's kind of like, aw, like they're friends and they're howling together, but they can't stay together, and that just makes me kind of sad. And then lastly, we have the moon from, well, lastly for part one, probably, we've got the moon cards from the Cosmos Tarot and Oracle. And I took these both out of the deck because the Oracle's moon card is more moonish to me than the moon card from their tarot. So we will start with the Oracle card. So this one is Secrets, Mysteries, and Cycles. And it's covered in lizards. Let me go ahead and see if I can, yep, it's covered in lizards and toads and snakes and like creepiness, and like there's an actual moon in there. I don't know, this one more to me is like kind of moonish. And I'm not exactly sure why it's like, well, you've got the mystery portion of the moon, and that kind of speaks to the moon as well, because again, the light from the moon gives you just enough to kind of see where you're going, but it doesn't illuminate everything. So there are still like that mystery aspect. And the but I don't know, like the lizards kind of throw me off a little bit, but they also kind of fit, you know, like I don't know, it just really speaks to me, like because you've got like the amphibious change, like the cycle of the toad or the frog, like they go through like the egg and tadpole and you know, egg, tadpole, polywog, and full frog, like so you get the cycles, kind of a feel from those. But I don't know so much that the lizard part, like this little guy, I'm sure he's some sort of in between, maybe he's a salamander. Yeah, these are all amphibians. These aren't reptiles. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it definitely, they're using amphibians to illustrate cycles. I don't know, this one just speaks more to me about like a practical life, like growth life cycle, like the circle of life kind of a thing, which, you know, could kind of coincide with the moon phases. I don't know, I really like this one, and I don't know why. It's okay to not know why a card speaks to you, because sometimes, you know what, sometimes like the SBD is all well and good to kind of just pick up a card and talk about it for a little bit, but sometimes it really does depend on where a card falls in a spread and the other cards next to it that kind of shows you like a different aspect of the card. And then lastly, we have the moon card from the deck, which shows the constellation Pisces, which I'm kind of in love with. I'm a Pisces. And I love that they've connected this constellation, like this intuitive and emotional and artsy kind of a sign with the moon. I love that these two are together. I feel like it's probably why I feel like such an affinity for the moon, maybe because I am a Pisces and it feels like it clicks. But as far as this one, okay, so it's subconscious, indecision, critique, and sensitivity. I'm not so sure about the critique and sensitivity part of this card. Like it certainly fits a Pisces. So if you're reading, usually when I read this card, I don't read it as the moon. I just read it as Pisces. I don't read it as, because I just use it as a I just use it as an oracle, so I forget about the fact that they've labeled it the moon. Oh, and look, you can see the moon right there. And then I just call it, like, just read it for its constellation meaning. And I don't see where the moon would have some indecision going in there. Like, it seems to me like in most moon cards, the little critter at the bottom, you know, we saw it as a bug, we saw it as the lobster creature, we saw it as traditionally see it as a crayfish. Most people say we see it as the penguin. It's not so much that little critter is undecided. I mean, there's a clear path. It's between those two towers that you've got to take it there. It's that it's going to be scary. So it's like so the decision has already been made that they're gonna crawl up out of the water and they're gonna go somewhere, but they are unsure of how to get in. And it seems to me that there's a clear goal in mind as to the destination for their journey, but the in between stuff is what's scary and unknown. So it doesn't seem to me like there's indecision there. It seems to me like there is like definitely a mystery. So anyway, that is my first SBD for the moon, and I managed to go through all those cards and keep it under 30 minutes. I'm very excited for myself. So I'll be updating soon with a, at some point today, I'll be posting a video. I'm doing a giveaway. I'm doing 2 giveaways actually, so that'll be really fun. A giveaway to thank the people who are already followers for my channel, and then a giveaway to maybe give a little incentive for people to come on my channel and subscribe and all that good stuff. So if you loved my first SBD, go ahead and, you know, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I certainly appreciate the shares, and I will see you guys later. Tarosphere, you have a wonderful day, and if I don't see you before, have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Celebrate safely. I do not want to hear reports about lost fingers. We won't be having any of this. None of this. Better I'll have these by the time you're done. All right, I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.